Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you today. Actually, in the room are Jean-Pierre Taille and Nick Bertrand Taokaja, who both work in Kigali and work with me at UNIZIMA. Please go find them after this talk if you would like to follow up or ask any questions. They are here and available, and we would love to continue this conversation after this important day. So today is the first, but I am sure not the last, BSMA conference in Africa. And I'm very grateful that I was asked to come and talk to you about flexible vaccine manufacturing in Africa. We need collaborations, we need partnerships, because that's absolutely required to build a thriving sector and thriving facilities. But we also need local solutions to make these facilities sustainable. So this is what I'm going to talk to you about today. I will go in three parts. First, a very quick introduction and background about who I am and what I do. Secondly, describing the challenges and the solutions that we see to this important issue. And then third, I will take the time to deep dive a little bit into some examples that ourselves or our partners have encountered while working to build bioproduction capability on the continent over the past year. So starting with just very brief context, I am Hala Aoudi, the CEO of UNIZIMA. We are part of Univercells Group, a global life sciences company with the mission to make biologics available to all. So we do this by building an ecosystem of business models that we want to serve the growing global demand for biomanufacturing infrastructure. So we divide our businesses into three planks. First, we have a portfolio of biomanufacturing technology. So this is the equipment to achieve low cost, low footprint, but high quality RNA, DNA, and viral production from research to industrial scales. The affiliates, as you can see here, are Univercells Technologies and Quantum, which is specializing in RNA, DNA production. In the middle, you see our facilities in Belgium. This is a CDMO that can deliver bespoke bioproduction with state-of-the-art technology for vaccines, but also cell and gene therapy. And then on the right, we have built businesses around providing advice for biomanufacturing facilities. We are at UNIZIMA very focused on emerging markets, low and middle income countries, and in particular the African continent. What we do is from design to operation of bioproduction sites, including tech transfer, training, and regulatory affairs. We bring to you where you are, aiming to build a new facility to produce biologics. We bring to bear the expertise and know-how of the group. So switching now to describing a bit the challenges that we face as a collective to build sustainable biologics manufacturing in Africa, and focusing also on what's changing already or what needs to change to support our sector. So first, this slide described the three challenges that I'm sure you are all very familiar with. Any company or public-private partnership that is looking to set up a vaccine or other biologics manufacturing needs to solve for three problems. First, it needs access to products that will be produced and sold sustainably and find a market and offtake for the facility and to sustain the business of and the commercial life of this investment. Secondly, there are challenges inherent in building the plants themselves. These are complex infrastructure projects that require very specialized skills, and it's not always straightforward to build them without having already a solid base of biopharma in the country. And third, without people, even with the best facilities, you will not be successful. So we all need to be very forward-looking and proactive in building the human capital and the skills of all the people and colleagues that will actually operate these plants in the future. So what's exciting at the moment is that we see technological advances and paradigm shifts that enable us to actually overcome these three challenges. And at UNIZIMA, we like to think of three types of innovation that we see evolving before our eyes. There are facility level innovations, there's process level innovations, and there is ecosystem level innovations. So going through them one by one, briefly to explain what we mean, I think at the level of the facility, we see a real potential in the advance of modular and off-site building to actually pre-design quite standardized facilities for biologics manufacturing that can be pre-designed, pre-built, to some extent pre-qualified, and therefore can be deployed more quickly on the ground. This is definitely the approach that we are taking and advising to some of our clients on the continent. It doesn't mean that stick-built isn't useful and can't be done, but it provides a very speedy, cost-effective, and probably simpler way of building when you are starting from a greenfield site. Of course, we're not the only ones. This is a trend that we see across the sector, including, for instance, with BioNTech's investment in Rwanda and Kigali, where you are. Secondly, to me, there's something really important about digitally enabled facilities and the use of digital twins, which will support operations, but also maintenance of facilities, including in a remote way, including using fewer, potentially fewer workforce on the ground, which offers some advantages. Secondly, and this will not surprise any of you who know Universal's group, we are very excited about process level innovations. So this is the idea that by switching to more single-use technologies, to better chaining and intensification of the process, or leapfrogging to producing the biologics, biotherapeutics and vaccines based on mRNA, there is a potential for the sector, including on the continent, to build from scratch over the next years and decade a thriving sector that is very cost competitive on the manufacturing of drug substance because it has embraced these new technologies and it manages to reach the cost price, the cost of goods level that is required for the market to be sustained and for the commercial success that we need and for the patient outcome success that we need in terms of affordability and universal access to these medicines. So second plank here, as you see, we think is really important, and I'll speak a bit more about it when I come to some of the examples. Third, even with all that, so even with the facilities and the actual buildings, even with the best equipment inside, unless we see an ecosystem level set of innovations, we will not manage to have a thriving sector for biologics manufacturing on the continent. Here, with my experience of working in government for many years, including on global health, I am very optimistic and very impressed by the level of political prioritization that we are seeing at the moment on the continent, both at national government levels, but also multinational in the African Union, the work of the Africa CDC, and many others. I'm also impressed by the level of commitment from public, private, and philanthropic partnerships that we're seeing. This is spurring an increased investment. There's never enough money. We always want further funding, but there is very visibly momentum and increased budgets compared to before the COVID pandemic towards building vaccine capacity. We need to use this momentum, which is a political and a social momentum, and we need to focus on the final plank of the ecosystem level innovation, which is the need to build the skills and the people, the young people who will in the future operate those plants on the continent. Together, these three sets of technology, these three sets of innovation, we believe can lead to technology-enabled affordability and real autonomy in biomanufacturing on the continent and emerging markets in general. So there's, I want to quickly describe two ways to reach this biomanufacturing autonomy. And the first approach is the traditional one, which is a phased approach, where either a company, a private pharma company that is very good already at simple molecules and chemistry-based pharma want to go into biologics manufacturing and takes a stepwise approach. The same stepwise approach makes sense and is applicable to a public-private partnership or a country that wants to devise a long-term plan towards building biomanufacturing capability. And the steps are, as you are familiar with them, you start with secondary packaging of the finished products that you have sourced from a partner. Then you move towards formulation and fill and finish in the country on the ground, while you continue to build some R&D and more sophisticated QC and research capabilities. And then finally, you get to step 3, which is going really up the value chain and localizing the production of the drug substance itself. There are a set of critical success factors for this stepwise approach, but it's a path that has been trodden before. It's definitely something that we are using with several of the clients and partners that we are advising at the moment on this subject. There's another approach, and this is often the case actually in economic policy, which is more of a big bang approach, where you actually use advances in technology to leapfrog into the next generation without going through as many of the intermediate steps. This is being tried by the mRNA Tech Transfer Hub program set up by the WHO, the Medicines Patent Pool, and other partners. We are very excited by the potential of this approach, and we are looking to work with many of the partners that have been chosen as the spokes to this mRNA Tech Transfer Hub, who are represented on this map. So, leaving this rather theoretical description of what are the challenges and what are some of the solutions, I wanted to take a few minutes to walk through some of the examples from our work with partners across the sectors. So I'll start with the first one, which is the advantage and the benefits we foresee in using a modular facility design, in particular for colleagues who are starting with a greenfield project on the continent. So the benefits that we see in using a modular design facility is first the simplicity of deploying it on site with less very specialized construction know-how needed in country. And this is because our in-house experts with our preferred partners who build the modules and the envelopes themselves, we are able to do pre-qualified CGMP facilities. It quickens and speeds up on-site installation. It reduces the need for on-site experts. From my experience elsewhere on modular construction, what will be really important for the sector, and this is a question that I would love colleagues at the BSMA and in this community to look at, is how much we can standardize across different facilities and across different designs, because this is absolutely key to actually lower the cost and increase the speed of deploying modular facilities if they become more and more standardized across each other. So the second example that I wanted to talk about has to do with this technology innovation that we see has so much potential in really moving manufacturers on the continent straight to actually drug substance manufacturing. And this is something that we were very proud to announce to the world this week, actually, earlier. Well, now it is last week, last Monday and Tuesday. It was announced at the Grand Challenges meeting of the Gates Foundations and others in Brussels that partners, including Univercells Technology, Batavia Biosciences, UNIZIMA, supported by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, are now building a tech transfer program with a sending unit led by Batavia, a receiving unit which is in the Institut Pasteur de Dakar, in order to start producing a new measles rubella vaccine in Africa for consumption and use on the continent and beyond eventually. This to us is really important and a real test case of what we have been arguing for several years now and investing in for several years, which is that by modernizing and innovating on the manufacturing of the drug substance, there are opportunities to really simplify the process for manufacturing, reduce the cost of goods massively, and actually reach the same price points that is needed to reach value for money from a global health perspective and access perspective, with lower small to medium-sized volumes, this ability to reach the right price point, including with lower small to medium-sized batches, and therefore not require colleagues who are starting fresh on this investment on the continent to have the kind of volumes that are the norm in the current industry leaders in vaccine at the moment. So this is the second test case that we are very proud to share with the world. And again, our partners are Batavia Biosciences, all of Universal's group, and we're supported by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But it is really the leadership of the Institut Pasteur de Dakar and the vision that they have had for the past 3 years tirelessly to actually build the Madiba vaccinopole that will make this a reality in Senegal over the next 2 to 3 years. The third and final case study that I wanted to shine a light on is what we're doing with partners, again, to create a thriving biomanufacturing workforce. And the way we do it in UNIZIMA is first and foremost to build high-performing teams within our clients. So we are able to come in and as advisors provide the size and shape of the team that is needed to build the plant and then operate the plant. We are able to support with recruiting those operators at various levels of seniority and experience, and we use a mix of recruiting locally, really encouraging repatriation of very expert people who are interested in going back to working in their home countries or elsewhere on the continent to make a difference. And we use a mix of recruits such as these so-called repats that can be mentored and coached with expert technicians and scientists who might be based in Europe but are very happy to provide temporary coaching and upskilling and onboarding support. So this is really the first thing that we do for our clients, and I think this is the only way to make it work, because there is no logic in sort of shipping teams that are temporary from Europe onto the continent who will eventually go. We really need to make the investment today to build those teams that will actually stay long-term and be the future success of this sector. Secondly, building a team isn't enough in itself. We need to provide world-class training, build a quality mindset, and have localized biomanufacturing training on the ground to build the workforce on the ground sustainably. And then finally, we need to create a pipeline of talent, and no company or organization can do that on its own. It really needs investment by universities, partnerships between local universities and potentially others in Europe or the US or South Korea or Japan, as it is happening right now, which is very exciting. And we need to have a train-the-trainer approach to developing this pipeline of talent of the future. So this is really our vision. I don't have time to go into much more details today, but I think what we're aiming for are flagship biomanufacturing training centers in Africa, serving a sub-region, and this will require a lot of investment and commitment to make it happen. This last slide just shows you the kind of teaching program modules we have developed, which is, you know, an investment, and some of these exist. They already within partners. I think it's really important that as a community and as a collective, we focus on really high quality training modules, and we have developed some of our own, but we are taking a very partnering approach where we want to complement what others are providing, and just really make sure that we provide the training that those teams need in a way that is localized and tailored to the very specific circumstances each time. So not everything can be in English. We need to have some French-speaking training, for instance, for countries in Francophone Africa, potentially in North Africa. We need a mix of hands-on training in labs, and some of the groups in Europe can offer that already while we build the labs and the facilities on the ground on the continent. We also need a mix of e-learnings and video conferences and virtual reality. So again, working really actively with several partners, too many to cite them today, but this is going to be a make or break part of this change. And to conclude and bring it together, I just want to say something which is blindingly obvious, which is Africa needs to find the path that will work for itself. And I'm incredibly proud and impressed and made optimistic by the vision and the framework for action developed by PAVM with the leadership of the African Union and the Africa CDC. You all know this vision. It's to have 60% of routine vaccines produced within African nations by 2040. And on the right are simply the 7 planks that PAVM have themselves set out as the framework for action. They all matter. We've highlighted the integrated ecosystem approach because we think this is going to be absolutely required, and we are actively working on those planks and being part of BSMA today, being part of this group that is having this inaugural session in Kigali this year is really part of building that integrated ecosystem approach. I hope this day is very fruitful and rich in conversations and insights, and I really look forward to continuing the conversation. Again, in the room today with you are Jean-Pierre Taille and Nick Bertrand Taokaja, who work with us at UNIZIMA. Please go find them if you want to follow up and continue these conversations or just get to meet them. Thank you very much and have a great rest of the day.